Edelman, the founder of the Digital Assets Council of Financial Professionals, DAC-FP, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this special presentation, the most important tech innovation since the internet, a story of two crypto fund managers. This is an unusual conversation we're going to have because we normally talk exclusively about what's going on in the world of digital assets and blockchain. We will, of course, get to that in this series. But this is a special four-part series featuring two outstanding fund managers in the field of digital assets to help you understand their journey in this space and understanding why they're so excited and why they've shifted their careers into it. First off, I'm very happy to welcome Travis Kling. He is the founder and chief investment officer at Ikigai Asset Management. Travis, it's so good to have you with us on this special program.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're based in Austin, Texas, Travis, yes?
That's correct.
But the name of your firm is Ikigai, which is a Japanese name. So tell us about the founding of your organization and about Ikigai Asset Management.
Yeah, very briefly, Ikigai as a concept, it's about an 1100-year-old Japanese word that most closely translates to reason for being. And if you Google the term, then this Venn diagram comes up, and it's what you're good at, what you like to do, what the world needs, and what you deserve to be paid for. And I came across this concept as I was exiting traditional hedge fund investing, which was my career for the first about 10 years out of college, and was moving into crypto. And I just felt like I had a career in traditional hedge fund investing. I was pretty good at it. I liked doing it. I made a fine living doing it, but the world doesn't really need another hedge fund manager. If the world doesn't get another hedge fund manager, the world's probably going to be just fine. But the world does need this technology, and this technology does have the potential to make the world a better place. It can do it quickly. It can do it in a single generation. And so that felt like it gave me kind of the fourth circle of Ikigai. So that's where the name came from.
Well, let's take a step back, because it is uncommon for somebody from the traditional Wall Street world to leave that world and shift over to the crypto community. So give us your CV really briefly. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Texas A&M University, grew up in College Station, Texas, and went to Texas A&M University.
And your degree there is in?
Undergrad in accounting and master's in finance.
And so that led you to Wall Street, to a career there. Walk us through the firms you worked for.
Yeah, so the first 10 years out of college, I really went more or less one straight line, which was energy investing. So it's worth mentioning that now as a crypto fund manager, I didn't come from a technology investing background, and I wasn't really that much of a tech guy, to be honest with you. I guess neither one of those things are true now. But I did a couple of years of oil and gas M&A at an investment bank in Houston called Simmons and Company, and then went to Magnetar Capital in Chicago. Was there for 4.5 years doing long, short energy equities and non-controlled private equity and debt in the energy space. Was there from 2011 through the middle of 15. So that was kind of the go-go years in the shale build out in North America. Had a lot of success while we were there. Grew the AUM of the energy business from 250 million when I started to 4.6 billion when I left 4.5 years later. And then in the middle of 15, went to 0.72 in New York, Steve Cohen's hedge fund, and was running a long, short energy and materials equities portfolio there. And was just kind of doing that when I got sucked down the proverbial crypto rabbit hole.
Well, going to Steve Cohen's firm, that's the Wall Streetiest of Wall Street hedge fund firms, and with no tech background, no crypto background, what was your exposure? This was 2015 or so. What introduced you to Bitcoin?
Yeah, so the first time I heard about it was in late 2013 when Silk Road got shut down. Just from a fascination perspective, I was reading an long article about Silk Road, and I thought that it was crazy that these drug dealers had made some kind of magic internet money to buy and sell drugs on the internet, and that just struck me as crazy. And then not long thereafter, in early 14, Silk Road or Mt. Gox got hacked. And I remember sitting at Magnetar thinking, wow, I'm glad I didn't buy any Bitcoin, because I'm sure I would have gotten it all stolen on Mt. Gox, because I don't know anything about operational security, or didn't at the time, I should say. So I stopped paying attention to it in late 2014. And then in late 2000 or in early 2014, in late 2016, price hit $1,000 again, and it popped back up on my radar. And I got into the subreddits and the Bitcoin talk forums. And I didn't know what they were talking about because I hadn't read the white paper, and I had done, an amount of research that rounded down to zero at that point. But I was amazed at just how much activity was going on in these forums. A lot of posts, a lot of comments. And this thing just didn't look anywhere close to dead. And I just thought that was amazing that you had this Silk Road and Mount Gox thing happen. And that not only was this thing not dead, it looked like it was kind of more excitement going on than had ever been before. And that really caught my attention and struck me as anti-fragile in the way that Nassim Taleb talks about anti-fragility. And then early 2017, Ethereum and all the ICOs started going crazy. So I started, I heard the term smart contract for the first time in my life, started reading into that, read the Bitcoin white paper in May of 2017. And then summer of 2017, when it's relatively slow in public equities, I really just fell down the rabbit hole and started spending all my time reading about crypto, go to the gym, listen to a crypto podcast, go home, sit on the couch in the dark till 2 o'clock in the morning and read about crypto, wake up and do it all over again. And I had to start at the very, very beginning because I knew nothing about cryptography and nothing about computer science. So this is like, what is a hash? What is a Merkle tree? What is it? Just the very foundational things. And as the first 50 hours of self-study turned into 100 hours of self-study to 200 and then 300, I just kept coming across revolutionary concept after revolutionary concept. And I would read something and not understand it, and then have to go read a bunch more to try and get my head around it. And then when I felt like I had some reasonable understanding of what it was I was reading, I would say, I'm pretty sure that's never existed in the world before. And I remember in particular, the Byzantine generals problem, which is, not to go too much into detail on that, but basically it's sort of like a computer science problem of how you figure out how to communicate messages in a trustless manner. And Bitcoin solved the Byzantine generals problem. And I did not understand that at all. It took me probably 20 hours of research to even understand like what is this even talking about? And then I realized what was going on here, and that you didn't need a middleman to sort of communicate these messages of value from one participant to the other without trust and with as much adversarial activity as you want in that network, and it still works without a middleman. And I go, that is a very big deal. I know for a fact that is a very big deal. And there was a few things along the way like that I just kept coming across. And I got to the end of September 2017. I'd done about 300 hours of self-study total. And I just convinced myself that all of this was going to go be a really big deal, and decided I didn't want to be an equity long short portfolio manager anymore. And I was going to make a career change.
Now, during this period, had you yet invested any money into Bitcoin or Ethereum?
July 2017, I bought my first dollar of Bitcoin. Yeah.
And so it was largely after you spent hundreds of hours reading, studying, learning, self-taught, talking with folks, that you began to realize there's a there and began investing. But at that moment in time, Bitcoin was beginning to skyrocket. 2017 is the year that Bitcoin rose 1,500% in price. It ended the year, it hit a high of 20,000 just before the year ended. And so what's not to love? And so you've made the career choice in 2017 to leave Steve Cohen and the traditional Wall Street hedge fund world and the traditional asset management environment to go full-time into this. That was September of 2017. 4 months.
Right. Yeah.
4 months later, 4 months later was the all-time high. Bitcoin began crashing. In 2018, it fell 84%. It fell from 20,000 down to 3,000, beginning what everybody refers to as a 3-year crypto winter. Talk about that part of it. Did you begin to rethink your decision and commitment when you saw the bubble bursting?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so I left Point72 the first week of December 2017. Within a couple days of that 20K, price.
Talk about lousy timing.
And so there's a couple of things. So I'm a pretty risk averse guy. I'm risk averse as an investor. I'm risk averse as a person. People think that's crazy to hear from a crypto hedge fund manager. It really is true though. I've never been a gambler. I've never been to a horse track. I've never bet on a sporting event with a bookie in my life. I would never go skydiving or bungee jumping or anything like that. And
but you quit your career and went into crypto full time 3 months, 3 weeks before its all-time high.
So the way that I backed into my conviction, which is like a relatively risk averse way to think about it, was I arrived at the conclusion in that fall 2017 timeframe that it was extremely unlikely that the world was going to collectively decide that none of this mattered at all. And I had no view on specific assets. I didn't know. And if you remember back to that time, the differentiation of different assets within crypto, like people didn't know. There are very few frameworks to think about Bitcoin versus Ethereum versus VeChain versus Dragon Chain. People just didn't really know. And I didn't know either. But I looked at the totality of that and thought about some of those revolutionary concepts that I was coming across. And I just go, what are the chances that the world looks at all of this and collectively goes, we don't need any of it? And I thought that seemed very unlikely to me. And I knew that a lot of it was going to change. And I remember thinking at the time that if I left in the early 90s and started working for Hotmail, and Hotmail didn't end up being a long-term successful internet company, but if you were one of the first 100 employees at Hotmail, you probably had a front row seat to the build out of the internet. And you probably were at a purview to be able to see how a lot of things were going forward. And that was part of how I was thinking about, kind of making that jump into crypto.
So how did you make that jump? I mean, you left Cohen, but did you start your own firm?
Yeah, so was not dead set on starting my own asset management firm when I left Point72. It had never really been a goal of mine to have like TK Capital or something like that. That was never something that I personally, felt strongly about doing from a career perspective. But I started getting out into the crypto ecosystem for the first time and meeting, this is early 2018, late 17, meeting these quote unquote fund managers. And what I saw was, to use a euphemism, a severe lack of institutional grade investment sophistication that was being deployed into this asset class. And I was meeting very few people that were managing other people's money that had ever managed other people's money before, or that had much of a background or sense of how to kind of approach generating attractive risk-adjusted returns.
In other words, they were the opposite of you. They were from the crypto tech sector, not the money management financial sector. And so while they might have been pretty good on the tech, they didn't know anything about managing money.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And just how to think about risk in general, right? And that looked like an opportunity to me. So by February, March of 2018, my business partner and I were thinking about, okay, we think there's an opportunity for an asset management firm here. And it takes a while to start, you get legal counsel, you start going down the path of getting legal docs set up, legal entities set up. The banking, getting a bank account at that time was still, really difficult to do. And you started doing these things. And I remember in the spring of 2018, when we had like a bit of a price run up before, this leak lower that was punctuated by a price crash in November of 2018. I remember on that move up, I go, wow, we really need to hurry up and get this done, because it looks like this thing is gearing back up to go do what it just did again. And then I remember in kind of that June 2018 timeframe, I was watching the market. I was actively trading my own personal account in crypto at that point. And I remember the market kind of rolling over there. And I just remember having this sense like, oh, this thing is not even close to being done going down. And so we kind of took our foot off the accelerator a little bit, and we were just kind of taking our time, getting the legal doc set up, starting to think through, in what manner do we want to deploy capital into this asset class? What types of strategies, what types of headcount do we need to deploy these strategies? Are there operating business opportunities that we may want to go after in the crypto ecosystem, all of these sorts of things. And had the plan to launch the fund in either October 1st or November 1st of 2018, and got pushed back a month to get legal docs finalized, and then another month to finally get the bank account open. And then we sent out the offering documents for Ikigai the second week of November, which was the week of the price crash in 2018.
And so now your timing is absolutely perfect. You
So
went from absolutely terrible timing to absolutely perfect timing.
Yeah, so we launched the fund December 1st of 2018. At the absolute depths of the bear market, there was essentially zero appetite from investors to deploy any kind of capital into crypto at that point. And we started off with an incredibly small amount of capital, and then moved into 2019 and just kind of started slowly grinding our way, to start to scale the firm up and figure out how to make money in the market.
And so here we are today. Tell us about the status of Ikigai Asset Management. How many clients, how many assets are you managing? What's life been like?
Yeah, so we are, right now at the 3-year anniversary of the launch of the fund. We've got a little over 200 million under management. We've got about 250 LPs spread out on 6 continents around the world. We have both a Delaware onshore and a Cayman offshore vehicle, so we have a pretty good mix of onshore and international investors. It's a bit of a power law distribution in terms of the investor base. It's a lot of high net worth, but our largest investor is a Swiss asset management firm. We have several pretty large allocations from more like kind of traditional asset management firms, family offices, multifamily offices. But we kept our investment minimum low the entire time. It's a $100,000 minimum investment with a 1-year lockup, and we like that because there's a lot of investors that have been with us now that had 100,000, but maybe didn't have much more than that to deploy into the crypto asset ecosystem. And it's been really cool to be able to generate attractive risk-adjusted returns for that type of investor base as well too. It's been rewarding from that perspective.
We're going to talk more with Travis about his firm and how he manages money and how he delivers returns for clients and his outlook on crypto. But first, in our next segment in this special 4-part series, we're going to meet Jake Ryan, who's the founder and CIO of Tradecraft Capital. And we're going to learn about his journey down this rabbit hole as well. And then we'll bring the two of them together to talk about 2021 and what happened, and 2022 and what they both think is going to happen. So be sure to tune in for our next segment on the most important tech innovations since the internet and our story of 2 crypto fund managers. Travis, thanks so much for joining us on this episode.
Pleasure.